All right, it is 7:02 p.m. on January 11th, 2022, and we are going to open the regular board meeting.
All right. Tonight we have trustees Chris Samples,
Here.
John Talbot,
Here.
William Luxinger is absent, Nathan Maz,
Here.
Jen Christensen,
Here.
Bill Motisi,
Here.
President Rick Worm,
Here.
Treasurer Brenda Oneby.
Here.
I Clerk Sandy Mazen here, Public Works Supervisor Brett Berkey.
Here. You need a motion?
All right, will you please,
You want a motion? John asked if you'd like a motion first.
for,
You wanna do
William.
For William.
oh, sure.
I'll make a motion that William Lushlinger participate remotely due to work.
I'll second.
John makes a motion to let William Luxinger attend remotely due to work. Jen second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Passes 7:03.
William,
I'm here.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Somebody. All right. On to the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda tonight are December 14th, 2021 regular board meeting minutes. The bills payable warrant list dated January 11th, 2022, and ordinance number 22-01, an ordinance establishing fees, charges, fines, penalties, and other regulatory measures, our annual fee ordinance. At this time, do any board members wish to remove any of the items from the consent agenda for further discussion?
If I vote no on ordinance on the second vote around,
I would,
That's-
I'd prefer you pull it from the
right,
consent
then
then.
take it up.
Number 3.
So let's remove number 3 for further. Leaves 1 and 2. Anybody else? All right, we'll take first motion for 1 and 2 only.
I move to place agenda items 1 and 2 inclusively as consent agenda items. Further, I move that all items be considered together as the consent agenda.
I'll second.
John makes a motion to place items 1 and 2 inclusively as the consent agenda. John seconds. You all in favor on that as well, right?
Nope.
So we have to roll call.
Jen,
Yes.
Bill,
Yeah.
John,
Yes.
Nathan,
Yes.
Chris,
Yeah.
William.
Yes.
Motion passes 7:05.
I move to adopt items 1 and 2 inclusively on the consent agenda in a single group pursuant to the omnibus vote procedure specified in the Illinois Municipal Code.
Second.
John makes a motion to adopt items 1 and 2 inclusively as a consent agenda. Nathan seconds. Roll call, please.
Bill,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Nathan,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
William,
Yes.
Jen.
Yes.
That motion passed at 5:06. We will need a motion and a second for ordinance number 706.
The time
Computer still says
starts.
5:06.
Motion to approve ordinance number 22-01, an ordinance establishing fees, charges, fines, penalties, and other regulatory measures, also known as annual fee ordinance.
I'll second.
John makes a motion to approve ordinance number 22-01. Jen seconds. We have discussion.
I already explained why I didn't want, what I wanted to see the different fees, so we don't need to discuss it. I'm just gonna vote against it.
Anybody have any further discussion?
What are you talking about, Chris? You don't like the
I wanted to
difference
see the difference between a resident
in
and a
non-resident?
I don't care if you raise it to 50 and then give the non-resident 60, that's fine. It doesn't matter to me. I just want to see a difference between it because there should be a benefit to
Living here.
using the farm.
Which we do for the pavilion,
I
which is
saw
where residents rent.
I know, I saw that.
We did leave that in there.
Because the thought was most of the teams coming, the majority of those people
I
are not
understood that,
residents
but
of the village. They're just using it to.
I
Get a
understand,
deal.
that, but you're a resident, you should have a benefit. I don't care if they recruit a resident and everybody pays the $50, which is what we need to cover. it. Just add, because he said in the meeting.
That's what's happening.
I know, but he said there were people who were non-residents that actually paid the non-resident fee.
Not,
He told that in the meeting.
yes, he did. He is correct. The majority, and Brenda can correct me if I'm wrong, but the majority of the people who pay recruit a resident to pay the lower fee, leaving us losing money.
Well,
Or ask
I
a
said-
friend or
I
something
said
like
raise
that.
the resident fee to whatever you need.
It'd be
to not
the
lose
same as
money.
the non-resident.
I disagree. And
All right.
that's it.
It is what it is.
I've got a question here.
Go ahead.
Are we saying that we're letting residents bring people in and who are non-residents and they pay a lower fee like our residents?
No,
That's
we're
what.
For-
doing away with
For
that.
the rental of the ball fields and our baseball fields, soccer fields, football fields, that's what was happening. The pavilion, we still have resident, non-resident, because we don't find any issues over there. But yes, that's what was happening in the ball fields.
It's not gonna happen anymore.
No, this
Well,
fixes
if we
that.
pass this,
If this passes, this fixes that. We just charge one rate regardless.
And what Chris talking about then, the other getting in for admissions and stuff?
No, he wants to go back to having a resident rate and he doesn't. I'm quoting you here, so correct me, but he's saying he doesn't care if they recruit a resident to get that lower rate.
Say that again? I can't do it to me.
That-
Chris-
Hey,
Chris would
Bill,
like to keep it the
Bill,
way it is.
are your headphones working?
Yeah, they were, but they're
Okay.
too loud sometimes.
All right,
Are your voice working?
Go straight to
All
the
right,
brain up
Let,
there.
let me say,
there you go.
all right, alls I'm saying is that I understand that people are recruiting, people, teams are recruiting people who live in the village. And I'm saying make the village rate the minimum that you want. And then anybody who has a team that doesn't have a village member in it, pays a little bit higher, because there should be a benefit to being a village member.
Okay.
Every other municipality charges for more money for non-residents to use their facilities, and I don't know why we wouldn't. That's why I'm against.
Can I clarify?
In
Is
other
every
words,
other
we-
municipality goes with park districts, separate taxing entities?
I have no idea. And I don't care. I don't see it as a difference.
Let's just vote.
Other words, okay, in other words, before, we were letting residents bring a guest in.
No.
It's not a family member?
No, so before, the team, the for-profit softball team would find a resident here in town to register for their tournament to receive resident rates.
Circumvent.
Even though they are a for-profit softball organization that could have paid the regular fees.
You said they were a for-profit or a nonprofit?
In this point, it doesn't matter. We've gotten rid of both of those, but
Okay.
at this, that example was a for-profit.
Well, just for point of clarity, I don't think any of them are technically for profit.
Yeah, but I don't think they're technically nonprofit either.
Anyway, we can vote.
Yes.
It's
Short of having a nonprofit status. they are.
Yeah.
for profit.
Okay, any further discussion on this matter? Roll call, please.
John,
Yes.
Nathan,
Yes.
Chris,
No.
William,
Yes,
Jen,
Yes.
Bill,
No.
Motion passes 7-11. All right, that being done, we did need item C. We finished with that. We will move on to the reports of the officers. I have two things under me this evening, one of which is the water bill drawing. Brenda? It would be funny.
That's great.
Throw it across the room and say ineligible.
Double it.
redraw.
723 Golden Prairie. Put that on the side.
Thank you.
All right. Also, I'm assuming you are renewable energy evolution? Floor is yours.
The only thing I ask is that you do have to speak into that microphone. If you guys want to sit and pull it out and share it, that's fine with me.
Does it need
Should
batteries?
Still be on. Is the light green still on there?
On the top side.
It went off. probably.
Probably needs batteries.
Wait, check.
Yeah.
Yep, there we got it.
It is charged high, so it needs battery.
So we did have something we wanted to
a presentation we wanted to show. I don't know. Oh, okay, great. Oh, perfect. Yeah, it's right up there. So thank you guys so much for letting us present to you today, even though it's colder than it should be. My name is Greg Swanson. I'm the Director of Solar Development for Renewable Energy Evolution. This is Brian Maye, the CEO. You know, like I said, thank you for allowing us to present. Our goal as an organization is to help cities and municipalities gain the benefits of solar energy. Now, the project that we're hoping to, and this is just an introduction, by the way, I'll get into the actual slides in a second. Ultimately, what we're proposing to do is build a solar energy array at the water treatment plant off of 251 on the backside, and we'll show you a map in a second. The sort of overview is that we propose to save the water treatment plant 50% on the electric utility bills in the first 6 years. And then after that, it would be donated to the city. And essentially that would show a 96% savings to just the water treatment plant, because that's where the array would be connected. So ultimately, one more number before we dive into the presentation. What this actually adds up to from an X's and O's standpoint is $16,000 in savings in the first year. Oh, great. Is it on there? Hey, everybody check. There we go. Perfect. And then essentially over the 25-year life of the system, which is what we think it will, how long it will last, it ends up being about $800,000. So a pretty significant amount of money savings at the end of the day. And so ultimately, this is all possible through a program called the Adjustable Block Program, which is an Illinois program administered by the Illinois Power Agency, ComEd, and Ameren. So I don't think I have control over that, right?
You do not, Rick's.
Okay. Thanks, Rick. Yeah, if you want to move on there, great. That's just a picture of us there, all done up and standing by the river and looking good, I guess. But beyond that, I think just a little bit about us. I've been working with Brian now for about 6 months. And before this, I had a career in government. And then I've worked in sales on and off for about 6 years and done renewable energy for about 2. Brian has been doing this for about 20 years. Brian, is that about right? Long time. And he has experience in many different areas, from very large arrays to ones that you put on a house. So we have a lot of great experience when it comes to this. So, and that is going to be a little bit about what that slide is talking about there. We have a lot of expertise in both the Illinois Adjustable Block Program and the Illinois Solar for All program. So we have what it takes to make this happen, as well as a history of getting it done on many levels. So, Rick, when you have a second to.
I'm trying to keep it.
No problem. This is a list of projects we've completed or in process. As you can probably see, there's a fair amount not too far from here. One being Richmond, Lake Zurich, Joliet Junior College, as well as Lewis University and others. So we have a lot of really good experience working in this area and getting projects completed. And then there's some other ones that you can see in process in Pontiac, and then with a school in Michigan as well. Next slide. Thank you. So what I want to do now is go into a little bit about solar growth in the US, because some people go, is this the right time to go solar? Is this something that should make sense? And some of the numbers here are pretty astounding. Basically, in the first half of 2021, the US installed 10.8 gigawatts of solar, so 47% up from just a year ago. By this year, the projection is 5% of all electricity produced in the US will come from solar. And then the Department of Energy recently said that it could be as high as 35 to 40% of all electricity could come from solar by 2035. So very clearly growing quickly, something that's going to be more and more part of the energy solution as we move forward. Rick, if you wouldn't mind, next slide. So then the next question comes, okay, Illinois, not exactly, we're not Arizona, right? Unfortunately, it's not 80 degrees right now, but the great news about Illinois is actually Illinois has quite a bit more solar installation than people realize. So 465 megawatts of solar energy were installed in Illinois in 2020 alone. And that's actually in the middle of the pack for the US, surprisingly. Now, the Solar Energy Industry Association ranks Illinois 14th as far as attractiveness for solar energy. This is how, where you can put the solar, how much sun you get, friendliness of government agencies to allow it to occur, things of that nature. And we expect solar to continue to grow for many years with the recent passing of the Clean Energy Jobs Act,
which is part of what funds the adjustable block program, which I'll tell you more about. Slide, please. Now, just to give you a little bit more proof that Illinois is very viable for solar energy, Germany in the bottom right corner there, you know, being closer to the purple side, doesn't get much sun as you might think. That is actually more comparable to Alaska, and they're still a world leader in solar energy. And you can see Illinois there is in the green area. So we actually are much more favorable for solar than the leading solar country in Europe. So it's an interesting perspective because that's something I didn't know until a few years ago, and it's honestly a good situation. Next slide, please. Now, this goes into the actual project summary of what we're hoping to provide you guys here in Davis Junction. It's 305 kilowatt DC solar array system. Essentially, it will be investor owned for the first 6 years, and then the owner of that system will be responsible for operations and maintenance for those years. So now the ownership will be transferred back to the city and the water district at no charge after 6 years. And essentially, there will be no charge because you guys aren't going to charge yourselves for power after 6 years, right? So your question to yourself is why 6 years? Why bother with that at all? The reason we would do that is a lot of the federal incentives that make solar very cheap are tax related. So through the investment tax credit, as well as tax depreciation, a private entity is in a place where they can take advantage of that, where a municipality, at least at this point, can't get a lot of those benefits. So that's why we do that. And it's nice for the first 6 years, they're the ones that are maintaining and operating it. And we'll go into that in a second, but that's why we do the 6 years, 6 years there. So the 6-year power purchase agreement would be for 3.5 cents per kilowatt hour, which is about 50% savings on what your current ComEd rate is at about 7.5 cents per kilowatt hour. So as I said before, a lot of this at the bottom is what I've mentioned already, but worth repeating. 50% savings for the first 6 years, 96% savings every year after that. That equals about $16,000 in year one, $800,000 for the 25-year lifespan of the system. Now, there's nothing that says the system couldn't last 30 years, right? But 25 is about the average of what we'd expect for it to survive. So next slide, please. Now, this is the actual, a lot of what's on the right side is just a repeat of what I mentioned in the previous slide. So the main focus of this slide is going to be the actual location of the array. This is proposed, as I mentioned to Nathan when we spoke. A lot of this is what we believe to be the best location. Now, obviously we're happy to talk to you guys about that. There's nothing in this presentation is set in stone, but we think that's a good place to put it. Next to the track, and the land seems pretty favorable there. So next slide, please. Now, again, this is just meant to be an example of the project timeline. Obviously, we can adjust as needed, but this is just to give you an idea of how long something like this could take. So there were a few different steps we have to take to be compliant with both Illinois, mostly Illinois program and then the federal programs. So obviously we have the board meeting right now. The first step would be to execute a non-binding letter of intent. Now, it's non-binding. Again, there's no legal anything. There's no money that you guys have to pay. Essentially what that does is it allows us to reach out to ComEd and say, hey, the city of Davis Junction wants us to look into interconnection at the water treatment plant. We swear we're not making this up. They actually want to do this. So we give them a letter of intent, and that's essentially what that letter of intent does. Then, again, if we were to get that letter signed from you guys, we would then apply for interconnection. And then in the meantime, if we would have you guys, if you would like, review the power purchase agreement, that would be for the 6 years that it's owned by a private entity. So the idea being is that while you guys are reviewing the PPA and determining whether it's something you like, we have ComEd already reviewing the application, so we don't have to wait, because that application can generally take about 6 to 7 weeks. So in April, the interconnection would be approved by ComEd. To answer a question that you might be thinking, very rarely does ComEd just outright say no. There might be situations where they ask for tweaks. But because of the way the laws are written, ComEd really is in a position to say no to Davis Junction on something like this. This is something that the governor and the House and the Senate in Illinois really want to support. So it might just be tweaking. I don't want to give you the impression that ComEd will likely say no, because we don't believe that to be true. So then if everyone agrees, we execute a power purchase agreement. And then the city, the state of Illinois provides the requisite funding along with financiers to get the system built. Then May to June, construction begins, we design, we permit, procurement, all of these things are done. And then by August, in theory, construction could be completed, final inspections made, and the system becomes operational. So as you can see, it's probably about 6-7 months, but it's really not, we could have this thing up and running by August if that's something you guys want. Not too long of a process. So I know I just threw a whole lot of information at you real fast. But the next slide will show you is questions. So I don't know, Rick, if that's how you want to handle it, if you want to take
By all means,
questions.
if they have any questions, fire away.
Yeah, if you guys, yeah.
Can I ask one clarifying question?
Sure.
So in the terms in there, and Nathan and I have been the only ones who've seen the letter of intent, but they're very not defined. And so when you say that who's going to be responsible for the maintenance for 6 years, is that you or is that us?
Well, that's a great question. So for the first 6 years, the owner of the system is going to be responsible.
Do we own it?
No.
You
So
own
the,
it.
no, so
We're
it's
just-
privately owned for the
Okay.
first 6 years. We will make sure that we will line up an owner for the system and they will maintain all of it. So the
Okay.
owners do. No, that's a good question.
Yeah, because it's not very clear in any of.
No.
the
So
stuff
the
I looked
LOI,
at,
right, and the LOI is specifically, again, non-binding document. The
Yeah.
PPA is where we'll get into all the specifics. Now, after 6 years, the city would maintain the system. Now, we have in our projections of savings factored all that in. It's not really about $1,000 a year, and it doesn't mean you'll spend all 1,000 every year. In fact, you might have 5 or 6 years we don't have to do anything, and then you'll operate and maintain it. And then Brian can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's something, the system itself, it looks very shiny, but it's not an overly complicated electrical system. A master electrician, this is something that they can be trained on in a week or two. This is not a very complex system. That being said, all the equipment is under warranty as well. So if the thing stops working even in year 7, it's replaced, as I understand it. Yeah, go ahead, Brian. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So, in the very beginning, there was the discussion about the programs and REE being an approved vendor. And what that means is every month, REE files with all the projects that we have under our responsibility as an approved vendor. We have to file into PJM and to ComEd the energy production coming from the systems on a monthly basis. And we have to do that. It's our responsibility as an approved vendor to do that for 15 years. So yes, there is going to be a transition of ownership from the private equity, tax equity entity to the village. REE will still be there monitoring the system and reporting to the state agencies, for that, 7 to 15 year period. That's our role as an approved vendor. And, we've, over the past couple of years, I've built a nice portfolio of projects and, we have a lot of skin in this program now. And, the last thing we want is for things to go wrong, and when I say things go wrong, we have a project about similar size as this in Richmond, a little bit north of here. And I was talking with the owner yesterday, and everything is running fine with the system. What happens is this is kind of like an electric system, just like if you put a new HVAC up on the roof or whatever. you're gonna have that first couple of months where you're working out the bugs, of course. But once you figure that out, it's very little maintenance at all. I mean, at least that's been my experience. I think, in this business, you get what you pay for. And you want to make sure that you're working with folks that know what they're doing. This is a new market here in Illinois, and there are a lot of stories that are out there about systems not installed correctly, not installed per code, poor workmanship, on and on and on. What I can tell you is, I think I was here 4 years ago or something talking to you guys about solar, but a lot has happened since then. This program has gotten a lot more mature. A lot of the folks, that were fly by night, in my opinion, are no longer in the program anymore. So, what our goal is, and things have evolved since then. I've evolved more as a business person within this industry. And, the whole donation model is something that we have done at Joliet Junior College and at Lewis University. Those systems there are about 3 to 4 times larger than this. We can send you our references. We've done a few schools out in Michigan since then as well with that same premise. And that premise is equity, right? We talk about where all these revenue streams come in. And yeah, there's the program that helps support this, but the tax equity is equally important. And it's something that the nonprofits, public facilities, villages, towns, schools, etc., have no access to. So fortunately, I've been able to build a relationship with individuals that have a lot of tax liability. And they believe in, solar and renewable energy and, the planet and on and on and on. And their whole philosophy is, well, hey, I live, wherever, Naperville area or whatever, I'd rather do something that makes me feel good, that's good for the community and good for the environment. And instead of writing a check to Washington, DC for all the taxes that I owe, I'm gonna write it to the project and monetize my tax liabilities. And then after that period is over with, which is documented within the IRS, after a 6-year period, the tax equity owner can do what they want to with it. And because this is kind of a niche within a niche, we're not working for a big energy firm that wants to hold on to all these solar assets for 20, 25 years, whatever you guys heard in the past. The standard PPA duration is 20, 25 years. The reason why that is that these bigger companies want to hold those assets for their stockholders or shareholders or whatever. And at the end of the day, they're doing the same thing that we're doing. They're selling it to a tax equity entity who's gone in 6 years. So our philosophy is, well, if the tax equity entity has no interest after year 6, let them go. Give it to the village, give it to the school, give it to the colleges, have them, there's nothing scary about the system. It's not one of those ones that, follow the sun or whatever. You set it and forget it. Yeah, there's some maintenance that may occur, just like with HVAC system or whatever. In theory, well, not in theory, in practice, we use local labor, local electricians, get them involved in the project. So by the time the village is ready to accept this donation, all the bugs are worked out. I mean, I haven't, the only time, well, I don't know, in my year's experience, the only time something really fails with the systems is like an act of God, something that is claimed on an insurance. And when the village is ready to take it over, that's kind of the O&M cost right there, is getting an insurance policy on it, paying on that, maybe paying once a year for the master electrician to go walk the site and tweak some of the bolts or check the wiring. Same time, REE is monitoring the system on a monthly basis. And if there's any red flags that are generated, it's our duty to inform and get it fixed.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So you said you do the reporting for 15 years. At the end of that 15 years, are we required to report to ComEd or whoever you?
No, so,
Or is this
so
just a
here's the
15 years?
beauty of it, is that after this 15-year state program, whoever owns these solar arrays, whether it's whatever, GE or Davis Junction or whatever, there are incentives outside of the state program that solar owners will be able to monetize. So right now within this program, it's a state-run program. The state is making the utilities pay for these solar arrays that are popping up everywhere. And the utilities then have to report on the RECs, renewable energy credits, to the state to say, hey, we're meeting our energy mandate, et cetera, et cetera. If this was in Ohio, which doesn't have a REC program, there's a market out there to sell RECs, to various entities, corporations that want to improve their green cred or whatever. So there, what's happening right now is the state has a program that guarantees those RECs, but at the end of year 15, especially the direction things are going, the village is going to have this system that's giving them free energy, and they'll also be able to sell those RECs on the market and make additional money.
You gotta talk into a microphone.
No, there's no reporting. It's the village.
Actually-
You guys can, open up.
Are you okay?
So my understanding is that the reporting is only while you guys are involved in it. Once that 15-year time period is gone and you're kind of not as involved in it anymore,
Yes.
there's no reporting that's necessary.
No, nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
No
you,
reporting, no nothing. You guys have it free and clear, and you can do what you want with it.
Okay.
A bad analogy
Good.
is,
I'm
open up the
satisfied.
gates and have
I
everyone
got a
take a
series
panel.
for you.
Can I piggyback on this real quick?
Go ahead.
So you say that we don't have any requirement to do reporting, but if we are actually pushing energy into the market, then we have to have somebody to assist us with that, because I am not trained to do that.
so here's the thing about that, those numbers are not included in the electricity savings numbers, so that would be bonus above and
But
beyond.
who's doing that? Because you guys are gone and now we own a system, and now the people who are reporting are gone. So who's doing that?
So the answer is here's the answer. First of all, you don't have to do it. I should say that, number one. So if you don't want to, don't do it, right? That's number one. Number two, in theory, I guess there's a little bit of uncertainty around that market. I don't think there's anything that says that a company like ours wouldn't be interested in helping with developing those or not.
Yeah, I mean, right now, like Michigan is a good example. We have some school projects that we've done recently around the size, maybe a little smaller. And there is this extra revenue stream that's out there. And what I'm doing, I'm being a broker because I'm already an approved vendor working with RECs in Illinois. I'm working with RECs in Michigan and generating additional revenue for the schools because, there's no state program to capture
So
those
we would need
RECs.
to find somebody to assist us with that.
That would be what I would be, or some other incarnation, 15 years from now, whatever company,
There's no guarantee.
they're gonna be, companies are gaining traction. Trust me, I've been an energy consultant, like Greg says, for a long time, and I have a lot of corporate entities and, that I work with, and a lot of them are starting to get wind of the changes that are happening. And environment, the ESG and green, reporting that shareholders are now requiring of these corporations. And they're coming to me going, help us, meet the requirements of our stakeholders who are like saying, why aren't you green? Everyone else, whatever's said in those boardrooms, and so I'm there to, help them buy those renewable energy credits from the market. What would happen 15 years from now? You guys already own the system. You're getting free energy net metered from the system. Your bill is still, 50% or less. And whether it's me or some other energy broker is going to be calling you going, do you want additional revenue? I'll be your broker on
So
the
you're
market.
asking us to rely upon an unknown in 15 years. So we don't know if in 6 to 15 years or whatever the time frame is where we now own the system and we're now responsible for also reporting it or for.
No,
putting it out or any of that.
You
you
won't,
guys are just the hosts.
no, so I'll just say, you won't have to do any of that. We can't guarantee what the revenue stream will be after 15 years. We can tell you we think there's going to be a value there. That being said, those numbers up there are completely independent of anything there, right? So, yeah, so.
I don't guarantee the savings.
No, we guarantee the savings from the system, not the rec credits, is what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say.
and that's what
So
I'm
you're
saying.
guaranteeing that we'll save $800,000.
Correct. That's the projection. Correct. Now,
But-
I'm not, sorry, go ahead.
But while I get that, you're saying that's the portion of the excess that we would push into the system. But what about the normal running of it? So when you guys are gone in 15 years, we have a solar power system that we need to work in conjunction with, I'm assuming ComEd or whoever, who's doing all that?
no, so the only thing you're responsible for after 15 years is whatever maintenance may have to be done with the system, and that's it.
She's trying to figure out who takes care of the reporting, or is it required?
There is no reporting after
So
15
is
years.
it just a private solar system separate of ComEd? With
Correct.
no-
Yes, there's no reporting required after 15 years.
So I guess my,
It's complex right now because of the REC program and ComEd's mandate of, reporting all this stuff up the chain, all the way to the IPA and everyone else. After this program's over with, right now the program got an extension for the next 10 years, but, as far as this project within the program, at the end of 15, ComEd is going to say, well, your reporting requirements are over. Do what you want. You can, totally take it offline or whatever if you want to. It's yours.
So Sandy, are we answering your question or not?
it sounds like you don't have an answer to the question, is
What is-
really what I'm getting at. So
What's,
you
yeah,
can't just have, my experience so far has been with those residences putting solar on their home so far.
right.
There is a middle company that does all of the reporting between the solar that they have and then what they pay. And I get that that's a residential thing, but I find it hard to believe that the state of Illinois would have no regulatory authority or no reporting authority over a solar panel farm sitting on our.
I think that, okay, so that's the point of clarification we need. As far as the RECs and the Illinois program is concerned, for the adjustable block program, that reporting is done. You don't need to do anything there. As far as making sure that the system is functioning, and Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, all that ComEd cares about is you have a safe system that's not going to overload the grid. As long as you're maintaining that with regular maintenance, ComEd is going to be completely fine with what you do with it. So does that answer the question?
I know who's
Yeah,
telling ComEd,
what's that?
like who's telling ComEd that it's okay? Like, are they coming out and inspecting? Are we required to report?
Are there
I just
inspectors?
have a lot of questions on paper, but I'm getting into the.
Please,
weeds here.
so please ask all you need.
Yeah, there's no, ComEd will come out here when it's time to flip the switch and energize it. And then after that, it's kind of like, you know, if you did any anaerobic digester or anything like that, the water treatment plant.
In
Or-
which there is boatloads of regulatory paperwork for. That's why I said, I'm just
Well,
concerned that
but,
it's in the end.
but that regulatory paperwork is being handled by us, you know.
For now. For the first 6 to 15 years, you guys will help out with paperwork. Then in 15 years, when you no longer have any obligation to report to anything, who's doing that?
We won't have an
With-
obligation.
If this system was built and we all said, we don't want any of these wrecks.
Yeah.
We would still go through the process of filing for interconnection, having ComEd out there to flip the switch when it's energized.
I get all that. I just think that in 15 years, there's going to be and granted, we can't foretell what the state of Illinois is going to require in 15 years. We can't tell what they're going to require next month. But I just feel that in 15 years, there's the possibility that the village may be left holding some responsibility for reporting requirements that we are not capable of handling. That's my only concern.
Yeah.
But Rick has got a lot more questions, so we should probably move to his.
We can make sure that we answer all those questions for you. You can give it to us in writing and we'll.
Well, and I'm kind of getting into the weeds for something that's just a first.
No, please,
That's
Okay.
my-
please do. Go ahead,
Being that
Rick.
we are in the state of Illinois and we know how the state of Illinois is, they currently have the adjustable block program. What's the guarantee in 5 years? They don't go, you don't have the money. for it."
So as I understand it, the recs are paid out relatively over the first few years when the system, go ahead.
Yeah,
Rick.
so the RECs, so if you look at it like a piece of pie, you know, as for funding coming into the project, you got the tax equity, which is maybe 60% of the CapEx, all right? Then you have the RECs and state incentives, which represent about 30% of the CapEx. And all of that is brought forward to the third-party financier. You know, they're bringing the tax equity. They're, for like, the system, say it's $500,000. They're funding that, they're building it, and then they're reporting on it through us. All right, and then those rebates and recs go into that pie, within the first 5 years. That's why, this is like a 6-year donation, because after year 5, all of the recs have been monetized by the owner under this program in order to make them whole. They're about 10% out, out of pocket. They're gonna make that up with the energy, PPA that you guys are paying them for that 5-6 year period. So
the-
and not only
answer
that,
My question about the state of Illinois.
So the money is allocated for the next 10 years. Is that what you said, Brian, for the program?
yeah.
So that money is guaranteed for longer than the owner would have to worry about the recs.
I mean,
So that, I think, does that answer what you're
We
asking?
don't know what the state or ComEd will do, but we do know the reason why this program is in existence is because of the Byron nuke plant and the other nuke plant downstate. Exelon played hardball, wanted additional funding for it, and this is all tied together with that.
So the program is funded for longer than the owner would have to worry about the payout as of now. And that's the assurance we can give you as far as that's concerned. I think that answers it. If it doesn't, let me know.
Long as
You close enough.
guarantee Beyond the life, again, I don't want halfway through the project, the state of Illinois to go, yeah, we're not doing this.
Yeah, we're not doing this anymore. No.
As long as the state's got it set up where it's covering the project.
The state is covering it for longer than this particular project has to concern.
So
Yeah.
for 6 years, taken care of by the owner. And in this 20 years, what do you see in maintenance? Years 6 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20?
We can send you a pro forma that we have. We generally say, and Brian can add on, we generally say if you take about $1,000 a year and put it aside of your savings, if you do $1,000 a year, that should cover any maintenance that you have. So it's a small percentage of the savings. Now, there may be a time where you have to replace your inverter, and that would be a one-time, what is that, maybe 5,000-10,000? Go ahead.
So when you talk about all the components, you have the panels, they're going to be warranted 25 years. Racking, again, 25-year warranty. Panels are warranted on production. So if production starts to fail, you're gonna know that something's going wrong. You'll be able to, work with the panel supplier, get those replaced, et cetera. I mean, I'm actually, so just a little background, we all know, I don't know what you guys know about the solar tariffs, imposed on China in order to prop up the American solar panel, manufacturing. Some of those companies that went under that were based in America have a lot of panels that are out there. And I've actually claimed, with these companies still out of business, claim on their warranty because they have to, per their dissolution or bankruptcy proceedings, had to have a separate entity handle all their past warranties. So panels are covered for 25 years, unless a tornado comes through or whatever, act of God. The inverters, like Greg is saying, those are like your power boxes, like the size of that speaker there. And they typically have a 15-year warranty. For a system this size, it's probably, I know that we're paying about $10,000 for those power boxes. They have a 15-year warranty. 15 years from now, like what Greg's saying, good rule of thumb is just to say, look, yeah, we're saving all this money. Let's put $1,000 away, or just be aware that at year 15, we may want to replace the power boxes. That's the whole premise of the $1,000 a year.
And we can send you a pro forma document that'll give you some of those answers, but short answer is it's the savings that are doing it. Go ahead.
It's actually a good segue into hers, the 25-year warranty. After 25 years, who disposes of the system?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so that would be the responsibility of the village. What I can tell you right now, we don't know what 25 years from would look like, but as of right now, I have worked with panel recyclers who have taken panels from other projects in this area and recycled them, and the hospital or whatever made a nice amount of money on it, to where it was a wash between the effort and cost to decommission it and then taking those panels and recycling.
And we would expect that kind of industry to only grow as solar does. So effectively, you would be responsible, but there are companies that are more than willing to take it off your hands for their own profit.
All right, so based on this one I have highlighted here, we're starting off year one at 3.5 cents per kilowatt hour, 1.7% escalation. So after the 6 years, we will be sitting at a 3.81 cent per kilowatt hour.
That I don't know the numbers off my head, but that doesn't sound entirely. He's just trying to measure the escalation over the first 6 years. That sounds close. We can give you some exact numbers if you like.
There's a lot of other benefits, shall I say, energy wise from the system. Yeah, it's a 1-for-1 offset, kWh, from demand at the water treatment plant to kWh generated by the solar. But what also the solar system does, which is very beneficial to you all, is it cuts down on your peak capacity charges, which we all pay here in this state. And it's all based on the 10 sunniest, hottest days of the year, or 10 hours of the hottest, sunniest days of the year is when ComEd and PJM, click that button and figure out what capacity and demand charges we're all paying. Well, it just so happens on the hottest, sunniest days of the year, the solar array is it's reducing that charge as well. So, there's not only a 1-for-1 kWh offset, but it's also reducing your demand. And I'm not I can be a prognosticator on how other markets have worked out, but here in Illinois, the utilities are going to make their money, and they're going to do that by increasing your demand charges because they can. So solar is going to mitigate that big time.
And that's something you won't have to worry about after 6 years. There will be a small escalation for the first 6 years. And after that, obviously, you don't have to worry about that because It's only maintenance charges after that. So, and we can give you some exact numbers to mitigate, to show you that. Go ahead, Rick.
Based on this highlighted spot here, so I assume you were going to provide about 96% of our energy capacity out there?
So effectively, it's going to be, so effectively what we've tried to control for in that 4% is any sort of maintenance cost that you might have, because that's all that you're going to be needing. As far as the overall, the system, I think it's 90%, Brian, is that right? The amount of power that we're going to be replacing, I believe that's right.
Yeah, I think it's somewhere around 90% offset. And because we're net metering, right? So the premise of net metering here in this state is, on your on the days in June or July when the solar array is generating more electricity than what the water treatment plant demands, that goes into like a rollover. I call it like a rollover account from, back in the cell phone days or whatever. Goes into this set aside count within ComEd, appears on the bill saying you overproduced last month and you sent us 10,000 kWh. It's marked on your bill. I mean, I went through these bills yesterday with a client. It's marked on the bill, and then, whatever, it's February and there's not a lot of sun and the water treatment plant's still operating the same capacity. ComEd will credit that's net metering. They'll credit back.
And that accounts for the 6% difference that you're asking about.
Well, the system's built theoretically to handle 100% of our load.
In theory, we're handling 90% because you're still going to be connected to the grid. So ComEd is going to be helping you with 10% of that, of your need. Is that what you're asking?
Well, that shouldn't be 96%.
Well, so then what Brian is saying is that there are going to be times that the solar array overproduces for what your plant needs.
Okay.
And we don't know on what given day that may occur, but some of that, what you guys are going to do is, even if you don't need that power, you bring it back to the grid, ComEd will credit you for that. So that's the 6% difference what we're talking about.
That then leads to my next one. What's the degradation of the system over time?
And so I think I should say we've factored that into the savings, just so you know. As far as the degradation, I mean, go ahead.
It's 0.5%. And that's, I would say, very conservative. I haven't really seen the kind of drops that, but I mean, that's a industry standard rule of thumb, is 0.5% degradation annually. That's kind of how we modeled it out. So you kind of see energy generated and it starts to dip a little bit over the years. That's the degradation of the panels.
Over the first 6 years, we will pay whoever the tax liability entity is, the 3.5 cents per kilowatt hour for what we use. After the 6 years, as long as the system is providing close to 90% of what we need, we will pay 10% to ComEd.
Right, you'll have two, right, exactly, yeah.
Instead of having that third entity to pay as well.
Correct, yep, you got it.
I've got a question, Mayor, when you're done.
Oh, yes, we got another one. I think, degradation village disposal, I think that's all I had. Bill, you had something?
Yes, when you're done, Mayor, I got
Well,
some questions.
Go ahead.
Okay. Mayor, I don't know if Davis Junction is a village ordinance code for this type of project. Do we? Do you know?
We do for solar. I don't know if it's just strictly residential solar or if it's residential and all solar.
We just passed the solar one not too long ago. I don't remember which one it was.
I'll have to look it up real quick. We do have a solar ordinance
But
though,
we don't know if it's for commercial or residential.
or maybe both. But
Okay.
it doesn't matter because if the owner of the project is the village of Davis Junction, can do whatever we want.
Well, I don't know about that. We have to follow rules and regulations too.
Not our own.
Not our own,
We can make the
Not
rule.
our own.
Now, huh?
not our own.
We don't have to follow our own.
Yeah, not our, okay. All right. The other question that I have is, for the first 6 years, we're gonna get, you're taking a guess at $16,000 for us?
$16,000 a year, correct, will be the
It's
savings.
per year or?
Per year,
Okay.
yeah, per year.
Okay, 'cause I was trying to divide it out, I only got 2.3 thousand
No, I'll send you guys a pro forma. It'll make it all pretty plain for you. I think
Okay.
that'll answer some questions. yeah.
The other thing is, on this 800,000 you got up there, does that include this, income for the first 6 years? Is that included in the 800,000?
Yes, so that's a factor.
More guesswork. We don't know what that's really gonna be.
Well, so the reason why the numbers aren't going to match up if you do 16 times 25 is that your savings are larger for after year 6. Right.
Okay, another question is, normally I know that our board is limited on things we can pass and hold and leave a lot of decisions to the new boards that are going to be elected.
Okay.
Okay, how many years can we sign something for a project for? Don't we have limitations on stuff like that?
I do understand what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, there sometimes are. I would have to ask the attorneys because it's.
Good,
based upon
good.
what
We-
the Law is
okay.
that we're trying to
Right.
use.
Yes.
to Get this solar,
Yes.
this solar project.
Yeah, most
Contractual
definitely.
thing, there are limits to it.
Okay.
There is, it's actually limited to 1 year unless set forth in the statute. I don't know what the new rules for the solar projects say, so I don't know the answer.
We will reach out to legal to find out.
Okay.
Okay, after the, I'm looking at my notes here, let's see. Will we be generating enough power for all our residents?
You're only going to be generating enough power for the water treatment plant. That's it.
Welcome, Nathan.
We're all good.
Now so you're only going to be generating enough power for the water treatment plant. That's it.
But I mean, however you want to distribute that to. the
And that
community.
cost us for power of $800,000 for 25 years? You're saying?
So no, so the savings will be $800,000 for you guys. So you'll have $800,000 that in theory could be allocated to anything else that you would want over a 25-year period.
Are we spending that kind of money on electricity?
So we budgeted $35,000 for electricity at the wastewater treatment plant.
No.
It depends on what time of year, but it
Yeah.
averages between
Right.
$25 to $3,000 a month.
Yeah, and so we budgeted 35, but I just looked at the. treasury.
So that would be, it's on point, so.
Part of the reason water treatment plants are a great idea for solar is that they are energy intensive. That's the reason why they're very attractive, and a lot of municipalities have chosen to do solar for them.
Okay. Now, is it on the north end of the power plant? I mean, on our,
Yeah.
So is this at our storage plant or power plant?
I hear that.
Yeah, Bill, if you look up,
So that'd be on the north side of it along the train track.
At the north side, okay, well, where's all our residents' homes out there?
What home?
We don't.
There's no homes
There
there.
is a mobile home community and that is south. of
Right.
wastewater
It's
treatment.
south then, not
Yeah.
north,
correct.
on the southern end.
No, there's railroad tracks up there. You
Right,
can't go any further.
right.
north.
Yeah,
And this is a proposed area, Bill.
Yeah.
It's not a
Correct.
guarantee due to the growth that we want to do in the future and such. It's going to be a discussion if and when we decide to do this. It will be a discussion of where exactly it will go based off of our future plan.
okay, now,
This area right here is actually set for expansion
Mhm.
of the plant, so, actually a third digester.
Okay.
here.
No, they'd be there.
Yeah, and we're happy to,
It's, right.
correct,
We've
right?
got things set up where parts need to go to make that plant bigger, so
Mhm.
we don't avoid this.
Correct. Yep. Fair enough.
okay,
Yeah.
I'm almost getting lost here from my questions.
Okay.
So are we?
On, what's that?
Nothing.
Nothing, I was drawing, Bill.
Oh, okay. That's good, okay. Okay, now, after 6 years, this would be revert back to an unknown, unnamed entity that would take this over. Is that correct?
No, you
No,
guys,
you didn't give us a name. Who's gonna buy?
no,
it?
you guys are gonna own it after 6 years.
After 6
They
years?
just donate it to you. Correct. Yep.
Okay. Okay, now, let's see, after your company's not involved anymore, okay? Is there anybody that's going to take this away from us? Or will we be able to do with what we want? with it?
You will own the system after 6 years. It will be donated to you, will be the property of Davis Junction, if that's even the right term. But yeah,
Yeah, Bill did it.
Yeah.
Okay, now, okay, before we were talking about taxes on something like this. Did that come up and what was the answer we were saying? There are none?
Taxes.
There are none?
What tax?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking
That
about.
He was talking about tax benefits that they
Oh.
receive during the first 6 years. We don't have,
Correct.
But they will get it.
yeah, that's that.
Whoever
That's the
funds
whole
the
purpose
project.
of them wanting to do this project. That's the benefit they get. out of it.
And then they use that as a way to lower the PPA price and pass a benefit to Davis Junction because they can lower the overall price of what they have to pay for the system. And so that's what allows us to give you guys such a cheap price for power. But there is no taxes that Davis Junction has to worry about paying.
Are
Yeah,
we
even
trying
even
to
on the
go?
energy bill, you know, the PPA, we're taking care of the taxes. So, you know, you get the energy bill from REE, you know, the whatever, 6-year owner of the system every month, and we go, hey, solar array generated 1,000 kWh at 3.5 cent, you know, put a check in the mail for that amount.
Yep.
We cover the taxes, et cetera.
Yep.
Now, wherever this is going to go, it's like building a new garage. You want to put your garage up, you got to go to your neighbors and say, hey, we're going to put a garage up.
There's no.
Do we have to get,
There's nobody out
Out
there.
there.
It's literally a cornfield, and a auto recycling center.
okay.
There's no.
Do we have to, do we or do we not have to check
No.
with, there's no residents there, so there's no one to check with there?
I would need to
They don't
confirm
care.
that on
Oh,
our
okay.
zoning ordinance, that that's not a requirement.
All right. Something like this, that the village is going to invest in and become an entrepreneur in electricity. I don't know what kind of role that is for us if we can go into business like a utility company.
We're not selling in the electricity.
Yeah, we're not
We're just
selling.
using it for the water treatment.
Because it's just going to take care of the water, right?
Well, we
I
could
want
if we
nothing
wanted
to do with the Illinois Commerce Commission, so I will not be recommending or even know where to start on how to
Mhm.
sell electricity. So I will tell you flat out that we are not doing that as long as I am here.
Well, 15 years is a long time
Yeah, I
for
mean,
things
I've been here
to
50 years.
evolve.
Maybe you'll find
And-
somebody who wants to do the regulatory measures of them. I do not.
In 15 years, I'm sure there's going to be services that are provided via some company somewhere because of the market value to do so. It's not available. Obviously, you guys are the opportunity we have for that at this moment, correct? I mean, is what you're
Right,
providing for us at the moment.
right.
There is, you know, the potential for battery storage and more advanced energy technologies to go into play for a system like this. It's actually happening with some of the colleges that I'm working with now. My advice is always, you know, let's get this first stepping stone going. See how so you can realize the benefits and how it works with the water treatment plant. And then we can revisit it, you know, like a year from now or whenever you guys are ready. And there are other entities that'll come in with battery storage or other, it's ever evolved, you know, but this shows that you guys are
If and
wanting to
when,
make that commitment.
okay, if and when this does happen and it does work for the utility company, or the power, okay, can the village expand these reflector, I call them reflectors.
Panels.
And panels, okay?
Yeah.
Can the village invest in putting more panels out there and then taking that additional power and see if we can get enough and offer it to our residents?
It would be
I
huge.
think that would be a separate project, not.
I understand that, but is that possible? I don't
It
want to
wouldn't-
shut us down.
It wouldn't
be out
fit there, Bill.
No,
The
can't
amount
go
of.
there.
We don't have enough room to go big and
Oh, no.
Not even close.
And there's all, and I will save you guys all this now. There are many other programs that we're happy to discuss at a time if you're interested that go into things. Yeah, that's kind of my impression as well. The answer is there are programs, but we didn't propose that to you guys because we want to give you guys a good, simple solution that's going to save the city a bunch of money or the village a bunch
well,
of
we
money.
didn't want to put panels on our residences' property or anything. I was talking about.
Yeah,
Of course. No,
I think what
understood.
you were talking
No,
about
understood,
is the
understood, exactly.
Alright.
Yeah, no. It's a good question.
I'm all out of breath asking questions, so I gotta wait and see if I can remember.
No,
Thank you.
How many hours you guys want? I can go through all the programs.
Yeah, right, yeah, we can put a whole PowerPoint together. Yeah, go ahead, Rick. Yeah.
On the, well, on this, on 90% of plant electricity. So we do get in as still days get shorter into December and then start getting longer. By January, February, we start burning through our credits from overproduction that you say. What if it starts producing less than 80% of our power, 90% of our power? If we sit at a point where we're out of credits, and what's the guarantee that we're not gonna also start having to pay more?
No. So the numbers that I'm sorry, I sound like a broken record. These are all great questions. Those numbers there take into account everything that you've just said. In the system, obviously the sun's in different positions and things are going to change throughout the year. So the amount that it's going to take care of for you will fluctuate slightly, but those are the numbers that we can back up for you as far as the savings are concerned. Go ahead.
And I'll actually throw this out there. We're getting way off on this tangent,
Yep.
but the approved vendor, my company, or, whatever, 6 years, 7 years, whatever, years from now, I'm not here anymore. There's another approved vendor that takes over the account. They're the ones responsible for reporting to the state agencies and ComEd. ComEd, they're going to assign a number, whatever, 20,500 or whatever to this project. The approved vendor is the one that kind of has their a lot of risk in making sure that all these systems function properly. And if they don't, and we stop reporting or whatever, we'll get kicked out of the system. And, there's a lot of repercussions associated with that.
So we have as much incentive, if not more than you guys do, to make sure that the
Yeah.
system works so we can be accountable to you. But Rick, that's the answer to your question.
Don, do you have any questions?
Essentially, we're the host and we're buying back power. In a nutshell.
And in 6 years, we produce power.
Correct.
Pictures we-
Yep,
Chris?
I'd like when you guys send us the stuff, I'll look it over.
fair enough.
Yes. Okay. So obviously there've been a lot of questions about the power, this and that. My concern obviously is the actual site. Because as Rick stated, that will not work entirely. I have future plans for some of that area.
Okay.
Obviously it is meant to grow, so some of that will not work.
Okay.
My main question though is, what is the actual footprint of these panels? How tight? Because I have to be looking at the maintenance of the grounds, not
Yep.
the maintenance of the array, but the maintenance of the ground. I
course.
have to mow that. I have to maintain that. So
Good question.
if, it takes, I don't want to hire a guy to maintain around a solar array.
No, I
So I have an answer to that because that is a very good question. We will, when we're building this thing, there are ways of tending to the ground in the beginning because it's all going to get opened up and it's going to be a mess. What I recommend, and I've done this with the colleges and universities and the ground mount system in Richmond, and that is, get a native seed bank, of sun, flower, wild grass bank that's low growth, and you've spread it out there. We just went through a growing season at Joliet Junior College and Lewis University. By the time those low growth wildflowers get a foot off the ground or whatever, winter's there to knock them back down.
So the system's up a couple feet off the ground and it's only 8 to 10 feet high. So that's yeah.
So it can be that, simple.
Okay.
If you'd like.
If at all possible, when you do send the information to Sandy or whoever sends it,
Yeah.
if there is any way that you could basically send some kind of picture, something
Yeah.
that is going to resemble the footprint that
That's
this
fine.
will take
I
out here.
have a bunch on my phone. I was
Yeah.
at Joliet
How
not
tight the
too long
panels
ago.
are, what our access is around the panels, because that is my main concern right
No,
now.
fair enough.
Oh.
Well, we'll show you some pictures. Yeah, but
That'd be great.
they're meant to be, they're made to be easy to maintain around because
Yes.
obviously it's a good
And
question.
so to get
Yeah.
into more technical, between the inner row spacing is literally about 14 to 15 feet. So, you can drive.
Yes.
If you want to clean it up and mow everything down, you'll be able to get in there. The lower part of the panel is probably, as high as this tabletop, then it goes up to 10 feet. So, you're able to, get in there and cut down whatever you want to cut down.
If that's even what you want to do. Yeah. Yep. No, it's a good question. We'll get
Thank
those
you.
to you. Yep, of course.
All right, so you guys ready for this?
Mhm.
William, you still there?
He is. I gotta get it back up there.
I am. Only question I have is, what are the panels or components made of? And is there any disposal concerns when we have to dispose of this in 15 years?
25.
Whatever.
So, yeah, if there's a tornado, well, all right, first off, when we design the system, we're gonna meet local code, whatever the value is here, 130 to 150 mile an hour wind standard or whatever the code is, that's what the system will be designed to. So if you do have a weather event that exceeds that, that's going to be a insurance claim to file in order to rebuild the
But
system.
Brian, a lot of the materials are not, there's no hazardous concern or anything. It's mostly silicone and, right?
Silicone and rare earth metals. I mean, there's no oil. There's no moving parts. The only thing that really hums on the system are your power boxes, your inverters, that are like the size of that speaker. Everything else is pretty static.
And when
Is static.
and when it comes to disposal, again, in 25 years, not only, I mean, I don't want to talk about things that haven't happened yet, but there will be an industry of people that are more than happy to remove those at no charge for their own
There
benefit.
already is.
Yeah, there
And,
already is. Yeah.
I was able to work with a few hospitals that through a real estate transaction, whatever, I had a call that the current, and this is not too far from here, group of hospitals had solar installed on the roof. The new corporate entity that came in, it wasn't part of the real estate transaction. And for whatever reason, they hired me out to provide consultation for decommissioning those systems and removing the panels and totally bringing it back to normal. And I was able to sell all the panels and equipment to where it was a wash.
Yeah.
It was, the cash in, cash out was zero.
William, does that answer the question that you had? Just want to make sure.
In a roundabout way.
Okay. As long as we got there.
On that, going back to Fergie's question, and part of what you just said too is, how many inverters are there in the system?
There would be 3 inverters.
And second question to that, panel maintenance in the event of weather. 10 inches of snow, freezing rain during the first 6 years. I mean, obviously after that, we're responsible for it if we did this. During the first 6 years, who's responsible to clear those things off?
The owners of the system would be responsible for clearing any snow if it was required, right? But there usually, go ahead.
Yes, that would have to be. So
There,
I haven't done that. Yeah, I haven't done that yet here in the Midwest because especially with a freestanding ground mount system, they're at a 25 to 30 degree angle. And as soon as, the snowstorm is over or whatever, and the sun breaks through, as soon as any little part of that whole array, any little centimeter or whatever exposure of that glass on that panel gets hit, it's going to warm up the panel. It's not to where you're going to burn yourself, but it's going to warm it up enough to where that snow just sloughs off. So, what I have seen is, if we have a really snowy winter, maybe, here's the bottom of the panel and the banks have built up a little bit from all the sloughing off. But, the other part to this is during those winter snowy months, the utility and everyone else is not expecting a lot of energy to be generated. So you can go out there and be as proactive as you want to be, but the point is why do?
And
Let me take it another step further. Our water tower is a prime example. In the summertime, we get condensation. You get a dewy morning. Those panels are dewy. We get dust blowing around. It's good dust on the panels. That doesn't slough off.
right.
Who removes it?
So in our experience, there isn't really a need to remove dust or anything off the panels.
No.
It doesn't impact it enough to where you have to go out there and brush it off.
Yeah,
If that
if
makes
this
sense.
was like Arizona or out in the desert, that's some of the positive points of doing solar in the Midwest is that it gets really cold, which provides an insulating value to this electronic system. It allows it to generate at a higher capacity than if you had it out in the desert. It also rains here all the time, and we have a lot of precipitation, which naturally washes the panels. And, unless we're putting it at the, Fairmont Sandtrol quarry or whatever, you're not gonna see a lot of dust accumulation.
And then the last part of it, as far as durability, they can handle, freezing rain or anything that can come at it in that sense. So.
Jen?
I have no question.
Back to you, Nathan, your project.
Is there any reason why you couldn't do it like a rock bed underneath the systems? Would it have to be plants or grass or something underneath the systems?
We can do all that at a cost.
Well, obviously, but.
Yeah.
I mean, to offset maintenance costs or something of that nature, is that something that's still
Yeah.
allowable?
I mean, what I can do, I can send you over pictures of other systems that have been built in this area. And I really haven't, I mean, I one time got from the facility manager at Joliet, he was like, there was this big weed that grew up, that wasn't planned, it's an invasive species, and, our planting department doesn't like that within this array, and I'm like, well, we'll go out there and knock it down and throw some, weed killer on it or whatever. But I haven't really, if anything, and like when I've gone out to these sites, there's more probability of vines growing up within the fence than onto the array. I mean, I say that just based on my experience.
We can go through different options after you guys see the pictures.
Yeah.
We can
Any
discuss. all
further
of it.
questions from the board members? Officers? Employees? Public?
Glenda's still there. I just keep losing that screen.
Yeah, I've got 4. If the village decides to do this project, who provides the training for our maintenance person to be trained after the 6 years? And does that person have to be certified?
Certified, there is no, well, there's a state program to certify installers. There is no state program to certify operation and maintenance people. It would be good if it was an electrician, a licensed electrician. One of the first things that we will do when we're building this system, again, is working with the local electricians, having them be a part of it, because if we don't do that and there is something that goes wrong, I don't want to be driving an electrician in from wherever. I want them locally.
We'll make
know,
sure that they have the
So,
requisite
And
training.
not only that, but with water treatment folks that operate the facility, I'm sure there's going to be a level of interest. We'll show you how simple it is. It's
We'll make sure they have the resources they
Yeah,
need
yeah.
after that
I
time.
think one of the references is Ed at Custom
Yeah.
Accessories. I mean, he's just a guy who owns a big warehouse distribution facility.
Yeah.
And he has a 300 kW solar array in the back of his facility. It's please as punch. I mean, he hasn't had to do anything to it, but just look at it, saving him money.
Yeah.
That's all I can attest to is what I've experienced so far.
Okay, the second question is what happens after 20 to 25 years of expected life of the solar system? Is there a refresh or retooling to extend the use, because 20 years isn't very long in village government life?
You'll have two options. You can either have a company remove it for you, or there's nothing that says you couldn't retool it and keep it going for another 20 if that's the value that you saw.
I mean, I've, so, you know, to go back and go, I have a good analogy. So the solar industry in the United States is very new, no doubt about that. You know, when I got into this sector, I was doing work in Germany, and some of those systems, maybe they're getting to like 15 years old. But what I can say is here in the United States, a good analogy is New York City. When I was a consultant, which is a majority of my career, I worked for International Energy Consulting Company, and one of our clients was the New York City Transit Authority, and they had some solar arrays in various places throughout their network, and then Hurricane Sandy came through and wiped out a lot of stuff. And I went there with some of the engineers that were working for me at the time. We went through, checked all the systems, everything outside of having an electric system that had been waterlogged. The panels, we got them back into operation, replaced the power inverters, but everything, you know, checked out, and we were able to get the systems back up and running. So, you know, it takes a lot to muck up these systems. I mean, it would take a tornado.
Okay, the third question is Rockford Airport is just 12 miles north of us. We are in a direct flight plan for one of the runways. Is there any reflection off from the panels that would affect the airplanes?
No, there's what we would do is report the system location to the FAA, which is standard practice. And actually, one of the first systems I did here in the Midwest is located on the north end of the southwest to northeast runway over at the Detroit airport. It's like 1 megawatt, so it's about 3 times the size of this. We put it right at the edge of the
I
runway.
think this
There's a
one's-
solar farm on the airport's property at the end of their runway now.
Yeah, and this is kind of a moot point too, because that portion of the village is not, I don't believe is in
Yeah.
the landing.
We wouldn't,
If it wasn't a problem for the Detroit airport, it shouldn't be a problem.
yeah, fair enough. Did you have one more? I think there was one more. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, Fergie pretty much addressed it. I was asking whether there was gonna be a meadow or prairie scape put down underneath it.
Yeah, we generally recommend, there's a lot of different ways we can do that, and we'll show you some pictures of what has been done, and that's a decision that Davis can choose to do however you guys would like. And usually it's some sort of wildflowers or prairie grass that doesn't grow too high. So,
Thank you, Rick. That's all I have.
Anything further from anyone?
You want to email me all that information?
I was about-
I'll distribute the board.
that was gonna say, we'll send everything that we talked about here along with Sandy, your questions, and we'll get it all to you guys. And as far as next steps, I guess we'll work through Nathan and or Rick and of course, and Sandy and,
Yeah, usually the two of us on an email will be sufficient.
no, fair enough. Okay.
I
No,
might want to look at some stuff too also.
I will share it to you.
yeah, we'll just send it through you
Yeah.
guys.
We'll share all.
I'll
We'll
email it to you.
Thanks.
Yeah,
No.
no, we just like one center point for the information.
Right.
I'll collect it and distribute it to you.
All right, thank you,
No,
gentlemen.
thanks so much. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you for your time again.
It's even better.
You can set it on the
Yeah,
top
just
of
look
it.
at the thing, yeah.
I'm breaking
Mic drop.
All right,
Literally.
last thing for me, we'll move on to Sandy Clark.
So not on the agenda. I did have a brief teleconference with a company who is interested in a texting program for the village. It is not an app. It is solely texting. So you could text a word like building permit to the number, and in response, you'd get a pre-formatted text that says, you know, the village's building permits can be located online here with a link. It kind of just allow residents to respond or to ask questions day or night. It also allows us to accept questions if we wanted to in that format, or people can sign up for a text output. So if we know that there is a road that needs to be closed because of whatever public works emergency, I can text out to anybody who is signed up for this program and let them know that that this road's closed for however long. So it's kind of a two-way texting. Before I went any further with that conversation, I wanted to know if there was even an interest or desire for this municipality to offer something like that.
Not for me.
Yeah.
I think with Muni code where they can search for the stuff to begin with the same search for
With this, so Municode, they have to go find it
I
first.
understand that it's available on our website. Typically, if they're doing a project, they've got a little
I'm
effort.
with you.
But and then the other part, we get out to social media quite often already, so.
You said with road closings and things of that nature, that they would be notified. Tornado warning, something of that nature, would that also go out on this?
We could choose to do that. I will tell you, on a personal level, I try to steer away from weather warnings because I don't want people to come to us as the weather authority. I will direct people to other sites to join to be weather, but we ourselves, I try to steer away from that. 'Cause I don't want people going.
My comment would be more for, as the siren's going off, we send out a mass text that says our siren's going off, something's been spotted.
Yeah,
I
but
would
then
say that's
somebody's
Ogle County.
responsible for making
Yeah.
sure that they're sending out that.
That's the Ogle County.
You don't
And
want
we
them,
don't control the siren.
and you don't want them to rely on us either. Rely
Okay,
on
so it's not something you can link into, it's not something that would be like a quick send out or something that.
That's a moot point because every phone has to be force activated with the warning siren now.
Well, there's that too.
I'm sorry, I didn't get force activated is all I heard.
He said that every phone is now required to be force activated with the siren system or with the.
Verizon sent
It's
it.
happening anyway.
Okay, so it's happening anyway, so there's no need for us to send an additional
Yeah.
speech about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
this I
I-
just think would cover, the only thing that interested me in it was two things. One, it covers the loophole. We have a generation of people who don't either have smartphones or don't have the ability or use to use computers due to technological
And that's
challenges.
3%, 1% of the population.
I agree with that, but it also,
And if
would
we told them where the road closings are, what are we gonna see on DJ Ranch?
I know. I try to be proactive, though.
Yeah.
How often do we actually close a road?
I was giving an
Being
example.
facetious.
It could be when Village Hall is closed. It could be because we're closed for a holiday. It could be a public works emergency. It could be sharing an activity occurring in the park. It could be sharing our Halloween party. Like, it could be any sorts of things. It is simply just another method of communication. I was slightly off put by the price, so I am not upset if nobody wants to move forward with
As
it.
many-
I just want to offer. it.
I'm-
Put Village Halls closed, it's gonna be like a whole bunch of people on DJ Ranch. Oh, wow, they only worked 3 days
Yeah.
this week. What's going on?
There'll be somebody calling.
All right,
That's a long week.
that's all I needed. I just needed your feedback. That's all I
Yeah,
got.
there's 6
All
days.
right, Brenda, treasurer.
December's treasurer's report is in your board packet.
Any questions? Reach out to Brenda. Or if that doesn't satisfy, bring them to the next meeting. Go to the committees, community development events.
All I have is, I have a new date for the blood drive. It's gonna be on Tuesday, May 31st.
All right, finance, William.
Nothing.
Oh, he's still there somewhere.
He is. I just can't get him to.
I think we have no ratification of emergency expenditures.
We have none.
All right. Ordinance enforcement, Bill.
I don't have anything right now. I don't know if you have anything for me or tell me about or anything, but I don't have anything.
Parks, John.
No.
Streets and justice, Chris.
We're good.
Almost can't say that word. Utilities, Nathan.
Now that I'm aware of, everything's still flowing the way it was last time, so.
Anything on economic development? Anyone? We do have walls going up down the corner, which is kind of nice to see.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, he's back.
The grant was submitted for
The rebuild Illinois down, or Illinois rebuild
That
downtown
one.
Main Street grant.
Excellent.
Thank you. Our bandwidth is slow.
It,
Never mind. It was short.
You're in it.
Go ahead.
it covers any commercial corridor.
Do you know
It
what
doesn't
the,
have to be called
Don't
down.
go there, Chris. It's not good.
William, do you know what,
It's not
how
good,
long it'll
Chris.
be before we know?
Hold on.
I'm sorry, Jen.
I
what?
thought it was like summertime, end of spring, summer, I believe Matt said.
Okay.
Matt will be here in a few weeks. It's a good question for him too.
And just, I mean, point of reference, we submitted for the whole thing, the whole maxed out the grant if we can. They had the option to award the whole thing or scale it back. And if we're lucky enough to get the award, and if even if they scale, give us 50% of it, we can scale the project back to match the amount of grant that was awarded. So, and there's a potential that it could involve some village funds, but that can be budgeted at a later time and spread out over a number of budget years if needed.
Actually, I thought it was here.
Yeah.
All right, I don't know why William's frozen on the screen, but he's actually live in Zoom.
Where were you the last 2 hours?
All right. Public,
Nothing.
I do have one,
Brett?
just so everybody has a heads up. With the possibility of more snow coming, just so everybody has a heads up, we do have a dump truck that's down right now. It is at Kenworth. Hopefully we'll get word tomorrow morning. What is wrong, if anything's wrong, what it will take, if we can run it. We don't know yet, so we're still in the dark on it. So cross your fingers, we do get it back tomorrow, maybe even. So, but we are down one big truck as of right now.
Rick's gonna drive it.
So-
Rick could have fixed it.
I can't guarantee what the weekend is going to bring if we do get the snow, so it might be interesting.
Just to that, John,
So-
I was asked if I could work on them,
Oh,
and I said I would have to fill out a conflict or a,
conflict of interest.
not conflict of interest, but economic
Economic
interest or economic
Statement.
statement for receiving money when I had to file that. So I did come in and scan it, but I'm not filling the.
I just meant you could drive it and plow.
Of the CDL, no.
No, we did scan it. We found communications issues that there were no stored codes. It's just a communication issue with 4 modules.
On
No.
that method though, John, during the last snowstorm, Rick did offer twice to come.
No, because Chris said, well, who's gonna drive it anyway? And I said, well, Rick can
Said that.
drive
I said, we have somebody.
it. And Rick
I'll
could
do,
drive
I'll
it.
do it.
Yes, we have somebody to drive the
Yeah.
truck. I just
Yep.
need the truck.
Sandy and I are gonna
Brenda and I are
alternate.
gonna start at the village.
Well, talk to William if you need an emergency.
As long as I
Yeah.
can provide my services without doing it, because I didn't do any work with the vehicle. I'm not billing the village. I can do it for free.
And thank you again, Nathan, for that presentation tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for all for your time to this evening.
All right, anything further from the board members?
Yes,
William or Bill?
okay.
Joe. Joe.
I would like, can the village or will the village purchase some N95 masks for us?
On your own. They're not that much.
It's up to you to wear it.
Why? For who? Why?
Why?
For the board or anybody?
We gave you guys these.
Or what, you didn't, I didn't get one of those.
No.
You might have been missing from the meeting. I'm happy to give
I-
some to you.
Well, oh, yeah, yeah, that'd be great if we get one of
They
them.
do have a pocket in case you want to put an N95 in them.
Oh, what, oh,
There's a pocket.
I don't
in
know
them.
are they just as effective as the N95?
No,
Pardon me?
The respirators.
They're
too.
They're not?
No more
No.
effective.
Well, that's what I'm after,
None
yeah.
of them work.
I'm after an upgrade.
no, we are not offering upgrades of that style.
It requires to be worn.
So the village will not order any N95 mask.
No,
Thank you.
Wait,
No.
well,
They work better if they're up.
you can't hear me then.
They do
Anything
work.
further, Bill?
Wait, are they gonna, the village won't order the N95 mask for us?
If we did, it would be for the employees.
yeah,
Well, we're all
We're not-
employees. We're not different.
He doesn't
No.
recommend the N95, do they?
Rick, are you saying no?
No, we're not for the.
You'll get them to the
We're not
employees,
gonna
but
do
not
it.
for us. Okay, that's what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay, yes, I'd like a mask anyway then, please. And,
we'll get you
got
the.
it.
oh,
we'll get-
okay,
I take it to work.
if
for-
we need, I still wish that we would have calcium chloride on the cup ready for us.
Yeah.
Or something, I'd like to see that
Next week.
in a salt.
They finally tell you they don't
In
work.
a song.
Well,
Oh, I
yeah,
thought you
no,
wanted to hear the
we're
song.
doing okay. We're doing all right. If
Well-
worst case scenario, I can mix chips with it for traction. So yes.
Because
right now we're
calcium
doing-
chloride works below zero.
Just say yes, Fergie.
Well,
Okay.
calcium, some cover works back 25 below.
20, 25 below, it works, calcium chloride. Okay,
Okay, yes.
that's it.
I've
And
got calcium
thanks.
chloride in the back of my
We're in
truck.
great
I
hands
get
with
25
Mr.
on.
Fergie and crew. Motion to adjourn, please.
Second.
Thank you.
John makes a motion to adjourn, Chris seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Adjourned at
Hey, Bert.
8:37.
Are we off the air yet?
Fix my clock down.
No, there